Oh, man. Like I'm about to cough up my lung or something. Why am I sitting so far away from the camera? Can you reach? How's that? All of a sudden, I don't like this shirt anymore. I always liked this shirt. Now that I'm seeing myself with it in the video, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't really like this one. This is a man's shirt. You know how I know? Because the buttons are on this side of the my right hand side. If the buttons were on this side, that means it's a woman's shirt. Oh me. Is that not the funniest thing in the world? I could have the exact same shirt. I could take this shirt and put the buttons on this side of it, and now all of a sudden it becomes a woman's shirt. That is how you know the difference between a man's shirt and a woman's shirt. If it's a shirt like this, and you're like, "Well, is that a man's shirt?" Which side are the buttons on? If you buy a woman's dress shirt, the buttons will be on the left hand side, not on the right. Which is hilarious. That is just fucking funny. It is almost in a way a kind of metaphor for the... No, not really a metaphor. How's that? Does the shirt look better? Is it a better looking shirt? Now it is really a woman's shirt, I think. It went from being a man's shirt to a woman's shirt just by me unbuttoning the top top two buttons. Or the two buttons that I had buttoned. Oh, where'd you go? Come back. I don't know what I'm going to talk about in this one. I mean, I don't know if I have enough to talk about on the subject of self-hatred. Oh, self-hatred. And how that relates to like my ideas about being trans. Now, I'm going to start this one off not with the very beginning of my life, but with the somewhere around the middle of my life. I was in the Army. At this time, I was really hating myself. In the Army, I felt like a whore in church. I had my first gay experience in the Army. Not even a fully fledged gay experience. I let a guy suck my dick for like 2 seconds, and before I made him stop because I was so uncomfortable. I was stationed in Hawaii. He was a local Hawaiian. He'd offered me a ride home. I'd gone down to the beach. Stationed in Hawaii. I was in the Army at Schofield Barracks. The guys I was there in processing with other guys from my basic training unit. The thing was, if you had picked undefined as your duty station, because the Army asks you where do you want to be stationed at, if you just say I don't care, if you say undefined, all the guys who picked that in my unit got sent to Hawaii. So I get to Hawaii after basic training. We're going through the in-processing, which means we're not actually at our duty station yet. We're in this kind of like in-processing. This like a preliminary, we're getting assigned to our unit, but they have to do the paperwork. You know how the Army is. Or maybe you don't. But there's a lot of paperwork and that sort of thing. It took almost a week or 2 weeks of in processing before we got actually sent to our duty station. Which basically meant that we had a lot of time to go down to the beach, down in Waikiki or North Shore or whatever, and just hang out. And then Like it was like we had to be there for morning formation, and then we were like set free for the entire day a lot of times. So, anyways, we get on. We get on the. we get on the Waikiki. I don't know what that is. I think it's the corn I ate. I had some corn for breakfast with my bagel biscuit slash bagel biscuit sausage egg and cheese bagel. Oh, so we go down to Waikiki. These are there's about 14 gentlemen from my basic training unit who got sent to Hawaii. I want to say with me or including me. It might have been 14 total, not including myself. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But it was quite a few. And like maybe 6 or 7 of us have kind of are on this excursion. So we go to Waikiki late at night. I want to say like maybe 6 or 7. I don't remember a lot of the details, but we get on Waikiki. They're drinking, or we're drinking, and I decide I'm gonna go get a bottle of Robitussin, and which was my drug of choice. And I don't want to do Robitussin with these guys. For one, I don't want to be in that state of mind around them because I don't want them to see that Robitussin fucks me up. I mean, like it takes me to a different place, but I don't want them to see me on it, so I kind of sneak off and get the bottle of Robitussin at a 7-Eleven. Drink it around 8 or 9. And I don't know if you need to know all this, but I end up totally separated from them. Don't have any idea where they're at. This was kind of before I had my own cell phone and that kind of thing. It was in the Army that I for the first time got a cell phone, but I didn't have one at this point, and so I'm pretty much now stuck. Like no way to call anybody, nothing like that. I don't even have anybody's number. I don't even know the number to the Army base. And the thing with Robitussin is it keeps me up all night long. So, I went to a few places while I was under the influence of that. Around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm still awake. The sun is starting to come up. At this point, I'm just basically hanging out on the beach, completely exhausted. And a local, I don't know if he was Samoan or Filipino, but he was somebody who lived there. I can't tell the difference between Samoan and Filipino. But he just walks up to me and says, makes the assumption that I'm in the military and says, "Do you need a ride home?" And I said, "I sure do." And so we get into his car. The very first thing he says to me is, he says, I'm very horny." And I'm thinking, oh my God, am I about to be raped? If I haven't said already, I have never had a homosexual experience prior to this point. And the idea that I'm gay has already been there. Because I did feel attractions for men and that kind of thing, but I never did anything. So this was like my first. This was really like the first time when a guy was really flagrantly coming on to me. There have been times when guys kind of hinted at the idea they were attracted to me and that sort of thing, but never really just were so out in front about it. And he says, "I'm really horny," and I'm thinking, I'm already at this point thinking I need to get out of the car. And I said something to him like, "I don't care." And he said, "I'm doing you a favor by giving you a ride. How about you do me a favor by letting me suck your dick?" And oh, he also added that he had been on ecstasy earlier in the evening, and that was why he was so horny. But I thought when he said that, I thought, well, it sounds like you're wanting to give me two favors. But I don't think I said that because I didn't want to give him the impression that I wanted the blowjob, but that's what I thought. And it sounds like this is not an even exchange here, because from my perspective, I never really understood why a man would want to give another man a blowjob. It almost seemed like that would be something that you would almost have to pay him to do. Like, why would you want to do that? And if you're getting your dick sucked, right, that's enjoyable, right? Anyways, so he starts. I'm like, well, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought you were going to ask me to suck your dick or something like that, and I didn't say that either, but that's what I'm thinking. And we're driving at this point. We're going down the road, and he just keeps begging me, just like, please, come on, let me suck your dick, please. And at one point, I think he put his hand on my leg, and I had to push his hand away and say, "Can you just take me back to the Army base, please?" And he kept begging, and I got to the point where when he stopped at a stop sign, I got out of the car, but then I realized I don't know where I'm at, and I don't even know which direction. I know which direction we're going, but I don't know if that's the way. If I can just stay on that road and get back to the Army base or not. And so I decided, well, I'll get back in the car and I'll just endure this. So, but then I get back in the car, and eventually, of course, he starts begging again. And I'm like, eventually, I was like, all right, I'll let you do it. And so he pulls over to the side of the road, and I unzip my pants and that kind of thing, and he goes down on me, and then about not even, I want to say like 2 or 3 seconds go by, and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. Just this image of it was almost like it's like you could be my brother kind of thing. It's like it was just a kind of I don't know. I was just totally uncomfortable with it, but at the same time, I felt like I had kind of taken a step in the direction that I had already been thinking about going before I joined the Army. And so I was so distraught by that, though. It was enough to really shake me up, and just feel, because of that, it was like, well, I think I've just kind of opened a can of worms here. And this is I've taken the first step in a direction that I really didn't want to go in while I was in the Army. So I was being distraught as I was. I get back to the barracks. I wouldn't say distraught, but when I got back to the barracks, I felt compelled. Once I got back together with the guys that I had left with, or even not even the ones I left with, but the 14 or so that I was there from basic training with, and I just told them all. I just threw it out there, and I just said, I just let a guy suck my dick, and that didn't go nearly as badly as I expected. But then I got sent to shortly after that I got sent to my duty station, and like 3 of the guys that had been in this in-processing thing with from basic training got sent to the same battalion as me. There were I think there were 3 brigades in that on the Army base, 3 infantry brigades, and then I was like each brigade had 3 battalions, I believe. I don't remember. I don't remember. But so they got sent to my duty station, and because of that, I was worried that that would spread, that would just permeate throughout my unit, and everybody would eventually find out. And I felt like I was just the lowest of the low. I just felt like I am the bot. If this is like a garbage heap here, like the guys that I'm here with, it's like these guys aren't like winners. You know, these guys are not to be rude to them, but they are like these guys. You know, these guys are. So a lot of these guys should be working at McDonald's, that kind of thing. And here I am. I'm beneath all of them because I had a homosexual experience. That's how I saw it. And for the first year that I was in the Army, I felt the need just to put it out in the open. And because I was worried that it was going to spread anyways. And so, like, for the first year that I was there, every day I was like, just put it out. Just put it out. I'd be standing in my platoon, in my duty station. I was in a support platoon. And would be to get, which was not a lot of work to do. So we spend a lot of time just standing around talking and that kind of thing. And there was many times when I'd be standing there, you know, in the group, thinking to myself, just put it out. Just put it out. I couldn't do it. And eventually I started getting picked on for acting weird. And that turned into me becoming basically the punching bag of the entire platoon. And that already starting out at the lowest of the low, because I had a homosexual experience. Now it's just like I'm just constantly just going down, just like down the toilet, so to speak. And we got deployed to Afghanistan. We come back from Afghanistan. We have to go through this kind of reintegration into society, like classes. There's multiple classes, not just one, but like just constantly going to lectures, listening to people talk. Because you know, people were coming back from deployment and killing their wives and that kind of thing. And so that's why we had to do these things. Stuff like that, you know. And so we're going through this class, or going through these classes, and one of these sergeants, it was like a platoon sergeant or a staff sergeant, I don't remember, but platoon sergeant or squad leader, I'm sorry. But he's talking about going back into living as a civilian after we get out of the Army. And because that is an adjustment, you know. Even if you don't go on deployment, it's still an adjustment for a lot of people. And he says to us, some of you will get out of here and you will become women. And I am like, where did that come from? But that wasn't my whole response. I also thought, that's probably going to be me. But it wasn't because I thought I was trans. It's because I thought I was just the lowest of the low, and the only way for me to get any lower was to become a trans woman. There have been times when I kind of feel like that. I look at trans from that perspective where it's like I think I must be trans because I am the lowest of the low, kind of thing. There is you might say, reverse engineering that happens where it's like, you know, my mother doesn't love me, there must be a reason why she doesn't love me, kind of thing. It must be because I'm trans. That sort of thing. And that must what I mean is I take that as evidence that I am trans, because why else would she not love me, right? So I'm not going to say that is the reason that I think that I'm trans, but it does seem to go both ways. It seems to be, there are times when I see myself as trans and I feel like I've made a U-turn, where it's like before I saw myself as trans, I was actually kind of going down the toilet, but then when I came to the idea that I was trans, that I actually turned that around. And my self-esteem started to go up. My self-esteem is higher now than it probably has ever been in my entire life. And I attribute that to going through this whole process of just exploring my gender identity and that sort of thing, and doing stuff like this. That has increased my self-esteem, and I'm making this video partly because of a comment that a friend of mine made that I was thinking that I was a girl to justify why I had low self-esteem. And I thought, well, that's actually something to that. I don't see that as the reason why I think I'm a girl, because there were times in my life when I did actually think that I was a girl. There were times, when I was a child, I remember calling myself granddaughter by accident, but then thinking that kind of felt like that was the right thing, and I didn't think that because I hated myself, but so for me though, there is still that question of why did I hate myself? When I was 20, how much time do I have? 21 minutes. When I was in my early 20s, I just kind of just come back from college. I'd been back from college maybe 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years, and at this point, I've become basically I wouldn't say a recluse, but it's like my objective at this point was just to get fucked up. Just to get high or to get drunk or whatever, and it got to a point where I did become reclusive doing that. Where I would drink by myself, do Robitussin by myself, but I wouldn't just sit and watch TV. I had a notebook and I would sit and write in my notebook. I would drink and just write poems or write just whatever came to my mind or doodle, little sketches. And that sort of thing. And for me, that was actually better than being with people, because I felt like things were coming, when I was alone in that space, I felt like things were coming out that would not have come out had I been around other people. But one of the things that came out during that time was that I hated myself. I remember writing in my notebook. I had burned my old notebooks. I'd filled up a bunch of notebooks and burned them, and I just bought a brand new notebook. And I had gotten, I think, a bottle of Robitussin and a bottle of liquor, I'm not sure. And I sat down, and the very first page I wrote, "Sorry sometimes because I hate myself. Madly unhappy waste of misgiven love I am. Fortitude, I possess no real strength except the love I cannot give away." So that was, like I said, 21, 22. This was really the first time where I kind of had acknowledged that I hated myself. And this was, as far as I know, before it was kind of trendy to say that you hate yourself. This was back in the 90s, and this was around the time when Kurt Cobain was kind of known for saying that he hated himself. And I think after that, it kind of became cool to hate yourself. But at this point, I had not heard that yet. So as far as I knew, I'm not going to say that was the first, but it was I would say I had not been influenced by someone else. This was actually how I felt. 24, 32. But even then, I was already starting to think that I might be trans. not in a serious way, not in a way where it's like I need to do something about it, but in a way it's kind of like I suspect this might be my problem. Because one of the things that made me think that was the very last line of that journal entry, that I possess no real strength except the love that I cannot give away. And I remember thinking, why can't I give it away? And I don't know if it was just later, years later, looking back, where I thought, I can't give my love away because I can't express myself as a woman. But also in the very last entry of that journal, the notebook, I wrote, what was it, 4 words: homosexual, bisexual, heterosexual, transsexual. And I highlighted, like with flowers, I put these little flowers around all around the transsexual, basically highlighting it. And when I did that, I remember thinking, like, why am I giving emphasis on that word? Like, did that, like, what does that mean? Why did I do that? A lot of times I've done things in my life and I don't know why I did them, you know? And like the whole calling myself granddaughter thing, was that an accident? Or was that a Freudian slip? And so I don't know. 26, where am I at? 26, I gotta get off. So yeah, I don't think that I would not say that I reverse engineered the idea that I'm trans from my self-hatred, but I would say that some of this idea that I am, some of the, I don't know what to call it. You might say my evidence for the idea that I'm trans does in some way has been reverse engineered from